Goody goody gumdrops, I'm doing good.
Good to hear.
Clear the air lanes for the big broadcast.
We're not professional podcasters.
Say what?
We barely know what we're doing,
It's funny because it's true.
but we have fun anyway.
I'm here to podcast.
Does everybody know what time it is?
We're going streaky! Yeah!
No, we're not. It's time for movies, pop culture, and more with the all-new Culture Cast, starting now.
I'm Jen,
I'm the Gorehound.
And I'm Nick.
and welcome to the all-new Culture Cast, where we're here to talk about Kesha, to celebrate my birthday month.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, one thing we forgot to mention last week was between the first episode of this month and the second episode of this month, we went to Jen's birthday party, and it was a Bob Ross party where we all painted like Bob Ross. Jen, how do you
only
think?
two people dressed up like Bob Ross. I was one of them.
And you did a great job. We were very proud of you.
I had a Bob Ross T-shirt on at least.
Yeah.
You did. You did. And you know what? I think that really speaks to the level of commitment you guys have to pop culture.
Oh my gosh, we are committed.
Absolutely. Like you can go to a party and you can attend, and that's great.
Yeah,
But
I was
like if
thinking
you could attend and also be attending in costume, all the better.
Alrighty. Well, as Jen alluded to, we are going to be talking about Kesha today. But before we get into that, let's go to one of our regular subjects. Subjects? Yeah, one of our regular topics. What have you been watching?
What have you been watching?
Gorehound, you go first.
Not a whole lot. As I mentioned before, we are in the process of buying a house, and that is pretty much all time consuming. But in between that, we just finished the 5th season of Shameless, and so we are watching the last and final season. And it's good. I thoroughly enjoy it. And the Mass Effect Andromeda still. So not a whole lot new, just stress over house buying and trying to fit in a little bit of culture. Oh, and I've been watching Space Ghost, Coast to Coast. So.
Ready. Jen, what about you?
Yeah.
Well, so I have not been watching a lot, but I did start listening to a podcast called Queued Up, and it is somehow related to NPR because I listen to a lot of podcasts, and NPR is like, 14% of the podcasts out there?
Yeah, they really are.
This is a news podcast, of course. I mean, not a news, but like an in-depth story podcast. And so the reason I listened was because they kept talking about one of the episodes on other episodes of other NPR podcasts that I listen to. And the episode I'm going to recommend to people is Soundtrack of Silence on the Queued Up podcast, QEDUP. And it's about a guy who finds out that he's in college.
Are you talking about the Q101 podcast?
No. Nope, this is NPR, and it's called Queued Up. As in,
Because there's a
queue.
Q101 podcast that is called Queued Up.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, first of all, I'm definitely going to look for that. But second of all, anyway, so the episode I listened to, which was very good, was about a guy who finds out he's losing his hearing and wants to start like memorizing all the songs he can before he becomes completely deaf. It was a really interesting topic. Definitely one that made me consider, at what point in my life could I never hear another new song and be okay? I don't know.
And can I say something? How there's these two podcasts that are very similar to one another. I was Googling the other day, and I found out there's a podcast out there called The Culture Cast that is a business-related podcast, like about business culture or something. And I was like, what? And it's fairly new, so clearly they're ripping us off.
Obviously.
The top business podcast for what's working in business. Could that not be any more boring?
Did you just Google that?
Yes, but we are number 4, but we are number 4 when searching for Culture Cast. But you know how Google is with like customizing searches, so
Yeah. So, like, should I, like, write them a letter and be like,
Cease and desist.
yeah. Although I guess technically
We're better than you.
I guess technically we're the all new, and the Culture Cast has been discontinued since 2013. But still,
Yeah, we're actually not the Culture Cast. We are still Zach and Nick's Culture Cast. So
I need to revise that website.
you keep on talking about revising it, but it never happens.
Yeah, I talk about a lot of things.
Nick, what have you been watching?
Actually, I watched. You guys might be surprised. For the first time, I watched the first Lethal Weapon movie. I've never seen it, and a couple of months ago, the Kiwi and I were at a Half Price Books, and they had like the Blu-ray set of the Lethal Weapon series, and Kiwi was like, "That's a good movie series." I'm like, "I've never seen it," and we're like, "It's $6. Let's buy it."
Oh, yeah, that is good.
So like, all right. And I wanted to watch the new TV show that just came out, which I hear is pretty good, but I wanted to see the movies first. So it's been sitting there on our entertainment set for, I don't know, 6 months. And finally, probably longer than that, but finally we decided, let's watch it. And it's pretty good. One thing that I'd like to point out that Gorehound, I think you would be impressed by if you don't know this already, is that not only do we get female nudity, very brief female nudity in the film, but we also get male nudity, including...
Who?
I'm getting to that. Including
Okay.
we see butt, but we also see a flash of dong from Mel Gibson.
Okay. I like it.
Like, in the first scene you see him, he gets out of bed, and it's from his back, so you see his butt, but there's a quick shot where you see something, like, swing. And the Kiwi and I, like, we looked at each other when it happened, like, did we see that right? So we had to back it up to make sure that we saw that.
That's awesome. Thank you.
So I thought, man, Gorehound would appreciate that.
Mm.
I mean, it's horrifying because, Mel Gibson has lost his marbles, but,
Yes.
there's a day that would have been really interesting.
Right.
Yeah, that was during a better time when he was really at his apex.
Right.
Yeah. 1980s, 1990s Mel Gibson before he went off the...
Solid.
Yeah. Off the cuckoo bananas. He's still not a bad
that
actor.
brings us up to like 6 movies ever, right?
What's that?
That brings us up to like 6 movies ever that show dong, right?
Oh, I don't know.
Should we start a list?
Yeah, definitely.
Gorehound, go for it.
I'm going to get a corkboard, and I'm going to start a list. And I'm just going to put celebrities on there who have shown their genitalia. And when anybody asks what this list is about, I'm not going to say anything. Just think about it.
Challenge accepted.
And you guys will be the only people who know what that list stands for, because nobody else is going to listen to this podcast.
We get like 50 listeners every now and again.
Probably from like Korea or something.
Probably.
Like farms.
So, anyway, speaking of dong, Man Crush of the Week.
Man Crush.
You're gonna hate it, but
Same guy.
No, it cannot be. You have to pick a different man.
no, I don't, because I have told you I am willing to not choose one because I value this segment, and I also value it enough to give somebody a reigning lead, and it's still Kev from Shameless, because I was just watching an episode. Every single episode, I am happy with what Kev is doing. He's a great guy. I can only strive to live up to.
Man, you're going to be pissed when they kill him next season. Oh. I have not watched the show, so I don't know if that happens.
I'm sure he goes out in a blaze of glory. So, sorry, guys, but... Sorry, but I'm not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on to our topic of the night, the collected works of Kesha. Now, Jen...
This is a first time where we are reviewing a musical artist.
It's true. Now, Jen, this was your suggestion. You are a big Kesha fan.
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit. I mean, I'm sure there's lots to discuss with Kesha, because I've been listening to her stuff and reading about her. since you decided we were going to do this one, so there's lots
Sure.
to discuss with her. But before we get into that, tell me or tell our listeners out there, what is it about Kesha that you like so much?
And leave nothing out, because before this topic, I knew nothing about her, and so I'm sure that many other people know nothing about her.
Okay,
So-
I'm going to argue that people do know things about her.
Yeah,
But
I'm on Jen's side with this one.
I will point
Okay.
out that when I went over to the Gorehound's house once, he was like, "Okay, I'm going to play some Kesha," and so he puts on, a Pandora station or something, and he kept going, "Is this Kesha?" And I kept going, "No, it's Rihanna. No, it's Katy Perry." Like, he just kept. Anytime there was a vaguely poppy female, no, it's Nicki Minaj. He'd be like, "No, is that Kesha?" It was adorable and also very strange.
It's
But
funny,
I guess it's Halloween mumblecore or whatever you listen to normally.
it's
Stop
funny,
insulting me.
It's funny you mentioned those other artists because I know they're going to come up later in conversation.
Yeah.
So,
So Jen, start us off.
Okay, so Kesha's great, and I love her so much. She came out probably around 2010, and her first big single was TikTok, which, even as I say that, everybody besides Gorehound, who's never heard of her before, immediately the song starts playing in their head, because it's just really goddamn catchy. And I think that, her music is really great for a lot of different reasons, but I think the number one part that I like about it is it just kind of embraces like fun. And I think, especially right now in pop music, it's a little bit different every year. You can kind of look at each year in pop music, but like right now, all of our pop music is like very dour and like very sad and like very slow. And it's always just great to listen to something that like is like, you know what? Nope, I'm having fun. I'm partying. I'm having a good time. Things are going great. And it's always great to listen to that kind of thing.
Yeah, I can definitely concur with that, because as I was listening to this, I realized that I could really go running to this music, and I did, and it was prime for running. And I also found Andrew WK is prime for running, and so I felt like there was actually a comparison between the two, because they both are like solid party music.
Oh my God, if they ever did a single together, like
that would be sick. That would be sick.
All right, Nick, what are some of your thoughts, having now done a lot of different research into this topic?
okay.
But Nick, I'm also curious how you were able to listen to the discography, because I know that you don't have a smartphone. YouTube.
Yeah.
So you just like a few nights just like binged all the music
I was at
videos?
work, and I just like kind of put Kesha songs on YouTube while I kind of
Okay.
mindlessly entered data into a spreadsheet.
Okay.
So that's how I was listening to Kesha.
Cool.
But anyway, okay. Here's my things on Kesha. I don't think she's all that and a bag of chips, to bring out a dated reference.
Come on, bro.
Of course.
No, here let me explain. I think Kesha.
You got a lot of explaining to do.
I don't care much for Kesha, and part of the I'll admit her songs are catchy, and they're definitely for a particular audience. I may not be that audience, and you know what? That's okay. But here's the thing that I don't care much for Kesha, is that a lot of her songs that are popular and mainstream, the ones that get on the radio, it's so auto-tuned, and I know every pop star out there is auto-tuned, that whatever talent she may have is like hidden. And a lot of her mainstream clubs, I call them club songs because they're songs that you'd hear in like a club. Like, I'm no moral police or anything, but I feel they're just kind of trashy in that they kind of all sound the same, and two, it's all about let's drink and party and have sex and all that, which is fine if that's your song, but I feel that some of the messages in some of the songs, particularly in like TikTok and arguably Timber, depending on how I guess it's more of a Pitbull song, but whatever. Where it's just kind of like you hear girls listening to this, and they're thinking, "Oh wow, Kesha's singing about if I just drink all the time and go to clubs, and I'll get boys to like me. I'll be able to sleep with them." Is this like the message you want to present? And additionally, from guys, they're listening to this and like, "Oh, it's easy to get girls to sleep with you if you just get them drunk." I mean, maybe that's not the intention, but I feel that's the it maybe unintentionally applies that, and that's kind of like, is this a message that Kesha really wants to promote?
I wasn't getting that, because I do acknowledge that when she released these, I presume, because how old is she right now?
She's 30.
30 right now. So she released TikTok in 2009. So she would have been 21 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah, she was of age where she can legally do all of this. If this was Selena Gomez at 13 years old, yes, there would be a problem with that. But also her songs aren't self-deprecating or to the point where she is telling people to kind of lower their standards. This is a party song, or most of her music are party songs, where she is talking about how much fun she is going to have, why she is going to have that much fun, and she's going to sing about what she is doing while she is having fun. It's all about fun, and I think when she starts to get more serious, because she does have a few acoustic songs on her albums, right?
Yes.
Okay. I think that's where she starts to fail, because I don't really feel like she has many other emotions besides party or fun, which as a pop artist, you don't really need a whole lot of emotions, because as long as you're playing in clubs, you're going to keep on producing music. You guys see what I'm saying?
Not exactly, but okay.
I mean, I'm going to argue with your premise, Nick, that, I agree that, yes, she is singing about various topics, including, casual sex in a few of the songs. But I don't necessarily think that people listening to it are, necessarily just getting this message of, like, boys will like me if I have casual sex too. I mean, and even if they are...
She's doing this because she wants to, not because she's trying to be liked or anything. This is straight up what she wants to do on this Saturday night. And if anybody is going to stop her, then I'm going to insult them.
Right. And so, so that's part of it. But then I guess the other part of it is, even if her music was 500% promoting, casual sex, okay, some people have casual sex, right?
Well, no, see, that's not my premise. Isn't so much that. I just feel like the way these songs can be interpreted, and Kesha's target audience, clearly teenagers and college kids,
and me.
Well, and you, but
sure.
It's just one of those like, this sounds not exactly empowering the way you might think it sounds, but. That's just my take on that. That's a small criticism, and that can be debated, and I acknowledge that. But with just the rest of her work, I just feel like it just sounds kind of generic, like pop generic. Like we have, I was listening to some of it, I'm like, man, her sounds are very much like it jumps around a lot, which is fine, but she sounds like a Katy Perry clone or a Lady Gaga clone, and I just feel like there's in a musical sea that's flooded with a lot of these up and coming artists, or I guess she's established now. That.
But you mentioned the auto tune, which I don't think is that big of a deal, especially when you're a pop artist that isn't like Christina Aguilera, where you're trying to prosper off of your good vocal
Well,
artist.
true, but like I was reading about it, I heard this was more of a problem with her first album, which she tried to correct in her second album, in
Yeah.
that because she used a lot of electronic, it sounded her music sounded artificial as opposed to something that was more legit. I know she tried to, and Jen, you might correct me if I'm wrong. She tried to like fix that perception of her in her subsequent album.
Yeah, I'd say her first album was pretty strictly party, and she did try to bring in some other themes and interesting takes in her second album. And if we ever really get, I mean, she's had technically, I guess she's had like 4 albums, but I mean, really, she's had two major albums. And then one was like remixes, and one was kind of deconstructed,
And the albums
stripped down versions.
The albums you're referring to is Animal in 2010 and Warrior in 2012.
Yes. And, due to her ongoing legal troubles, which we can get into or not, but she has an entire album full of other material that apparently is a different sound than what she normally sings, but for various legal reasons, it has not and may never be released. So
yeah, that's a screwy situation. We should get into that a little bit later, but
right. But I think she's somebody who has evolved and given a more fair set of parameters would be continuing to evolve. So I've seen her live twice, and you might be like, Jen, are you going to go see her when she comes to Aurora in August? And the answer is yes. So that will be my 3rd time seeing her. And I do think she's been doing, she's been allowed to tour with her current music, but she isn't necessarily performing it in the same way it sounds on the albums. Like she, in 2016, was performing with a band called The Creepies. I don't know what that's about, but anyway, and she definitely did like different versions of all of her popular songs, So I think she, she sounds very, very poppy on the first one, but on the second album, you've got like Iggy Pop. You've got, she's definitely going for, I think, a little bit more of a rock and roll sound.
I did like that song, Wonderland, that's on the second album. I could genuinely say that's a song that I actually thought was legitimately good.
Is that the one with Iggy Pop?
I'm not sure. It was more of a slower sounding song. I don't know. It was like playing. I wasn't seeing who was.
No. Well, anyway, no. But, so I think she's definitely got a chance to play other things.
And I want to see that come from her. I'm just not a fan of what she's done up to this point. Not for me. I want to see her evolve and branch out. And there are other artists out there who, when they first came out, I was not a fan of, but I've turned around completely on them as they've continued to evolve. Lady Gaga being one of them.
Okay.
Getting back to Kesha. I am curious, with her legal issues kind of stalling her career, at least in
Can we talk about that? What's the legal issues?
Oh, we'll get. Let me get this point out before we.
Okay.
Once we start talking about that, this episode's going in a way different direction.
Oh man, whirlwind.
I don't know about that, but it's gonna dramatically change gears.
All right.
But I am curious if her career isn't, since she's really can't do much with a lot of new music. I mean, she still is able to release stuff over like SoundCloud or something, but not on a studio album. I'm curious where her career would be right now, in so much that a buddy of mine once said to me, and I kind of believe it, that your average pop star has about 4 years of shelf life before they fall out of popularity. There are some that, of course, break that mold, like your Katy Perry's and Taylor Swift's. But overall, you got about 4 years, and then someone's moved on. Case in point, Meghan Trainor. No one cares about Meghan Trainor anymore, and she was like the biggest thing 3 years ago. But anyway, I'm kind of curious if Kesha would have been one of those to break that mold, or if she would have kind of fallen into somewhat musical obscurity.
I mean, so I don't think I think that's a pretty accurate statement. Obviously, we can all name some artists who have been around for a very long time. But even, you look at somebody like a Madonna, right?
Mm-hmm.
Madonna came into the scene in like the early 80s and stayed in the getting number one hits until 2000, which, is 4 times what your friend suggested.
Well, I mean, yeah,
So,
it's
and,
not
I mean,
every
obviously
single
she's an
one.
exception.
Yeah.
She's an exception. But so my point being that, like, since then, Madonna has put out a bunch of albums. None of them have hit number one the way she used to hit number one, but she still has a career and still sells out arenas and stuff. And I've seen her twice, and she's a great show. And anyway. But so my point being that I can definitely agree that pop acts, probably I think 4 years is sometimes generous, sometimes underselling them, but generally I'd say that's probably accurate. But I don't necessarily think that Kesha would, just based on interviews I've read with her, I think that she would still have a career, and it would be a very different career. She wouldn't be going after the same people. When she first got started, she had submitted a demo, and her demo included like a country song. So I could easily see if she, didn't have all these legal troubles, I could see her having, put out 2 pop albums and then switched over into another genre, and, probably had like a third of the audience she had when she was a pop star, but, still being happy and still producing music. That's kind of, I think, where I would see her.
Okay. I could see that. Again, it just obviously we have no real answers there. It's just a hypothetical, and I'm just kind of curious throwing it out there. So let's change gears, because this is unfortunately for Kesha and those involved, this has become a big part of her career life. I don't know how you want to look at it, but for the past couple of years, she's had some legal issues, specifically with her. I believe it's her producer. Was it?
Right.
What's his name? Dr.
Luke.
Yeah, and can I just say something? Whether this guy is guilty or not, he's guilty of at least one thing. He has the stupidest name possible for a music producer. And I don't know why music producers insist on referring themselves in stupid names and giving them.
Does he have a PhD? No.
No. That just, I don't get it. Like, you're a producer. You're not a musical act. If you're a musical act, you're allowed to have a goofy name. That's part of the act. You are not an act. You are a producer. So use your real name and shut up. But I digress.
Sure. I think we can all agree on that.
But from what I understand, and Jen, please correct me if I'm wrong, is that she was filing suit against Dr. Luke, and
right.
I think subsequently Sony. And the charges include, it started off with she was trying to get out of her record deal or contract because it wasn't a very good contract. Fair enough. But then it escalated and included sexual assault or sexual abuse charges, one of those two. Like, she claimed that Dr. Luke had like raped her or assaulted her, and verbal abuse and a bunch of other things, which of course he denies, and so it became this whole legal thing. And where things got really perplexing, and this is so weird. She accuses him of rape, and the judge ultimately dismisses the charges because she was unable to provide solid evidence or proof that these assault charges were legitimate. And he maintains his innocence, although he's guilty in the court of public opinion. And at the same time, it causes a rift with her and her company because it alleges that she can't produce any new music, even though she has produced music, that she can't go on tour, but she has gone on tour. So there's a lot of like moving parts that seem contradictory with one another to the point that I don't even know what to think and believe anymore.
Right. I mean, it's a complicated legal thing, and obviously none of us are lawyers, because if we were, we would be far too busy to have podcasts. But my understanding is that, yeah, that she had filed suit against Dr. Luke and then against Sony, and Sony says she's under contract for like 4 albums or something. And so she's put together this other music, and at first they said, oh, you have to work with Dr. Luke to produce it. And she said, I don't want to do that. And they said, well, then I guess you don't get to make music, which is, of course, ridiculous. And so then, but so because she's under this contract, the way the contracts work is they'll say something like, you have to produce work that follow, so you can't switch genres mid-career, right? Like you have to put out 4, if you got hired to do pop music, you have to put out 4 albums of similar enough pop music to have the contract. So if she tries to produce other music, which is what she's done, she's put together these other songs, and then they can just say, well, you're not, within the degree of separation from your first album, so we're not going to put it out. So they eventually relented and said she didn't have to work with Dr. Luke, but now they're saying that her music isn't, adhering to her end of the deal. So they're kind of at this standstill, and ultimately I think it's within Sony's best interest financially, or if they admit that Dr. Luke is a creep, and I think we have reason to believe that her charges are accurate because other female celebrities who have worked with him, Kelly Clarkson is the one I'm remembering, but I know Taylor Swift had also donated a bunch of money to her legal fund. So other female celebrities have come forward and kind of said, no, he's a creep. So, I think it's believable that something happened there. But, for Sony, if they admit that he's a creep, then they can't have him work on other stuff. So it's easier for them to just kind of let her career die on the vine than it is to like admit any sort of culpability or to say, actually, we knew he was a creep, but we kept, letting him work with young girls because he produced these hits.
See, I had heard the opposite in that, specifically Kelly Clarkson, I think Lady Gaga, that they're trying to make claims that he had abused or done stuff with them, and then only for those artists to come out and say, no, that's not true. So, like, I was surprised to hear the Kelly Clarkson story because I had read an article that said
hold on. Let me
opposite of that.
Let me Google this real quick.
Yeah. So you're saying that because she's producing new music, but it's like significantly different than her than her previous pop songs, yes, that she can't like release them under the label.
She's got a full album of music that she hasn't been able to release. There was an article about it in the New York Times maybe like 8 months ago. Very depressing.
Which is really weird. You'd think, at least when in her heyday in 2010, 2012, that she'd have enough of a name where Sony would be, all right, we'll compromise, we'll let you release some of these songs on your album and blah, 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 and it would still sell because it's Kesha. But it's weird that they're not relenting on that.
That's a dick move to do that.
Hollywood people, or whatever it is in what they call the music world.
Okay, so here's what we know about Kelly Clarkson. According to Us Magazine, she had made comments about having been blackmailed into working with Dr. Luke against her will, but then came back and said, well, the CEO of RCA Records whose name is Peter Edge, by the way, which sounds super fake, is rad and a good dude. So I'm not super clear, but she did collaborate with Dr. Luke in 2009 for the song "My Life Would Suck Without You," So she had originally said, I only worked with him because literally I got blackmailed by my label. They're like, we will not put out your album if you do not do this. It was a really hard time for me. So I don't know. So that's kind of hard because she definitely did say that, you know, she only worked with him because they forced him. And then she went back and said, no, the people that pay me to work for them are good people, but still didn't say anything nice about Dr. Luke. So I don't know. But yeah, either way. So anyway, but yeah, no. So according to the New York Times, she has this whole album like ready to go of music that I think definitely would edge more into like country music. Like I said, I mean, I think you see kind of an evolution from her first album to her second album, going from straight pop to going to something a little bit more rocker. So yeah, I think she, you know, she has stuff out there, but you know, maybe it's not stuff that they're willing to put out under her name, but they're also not willing to let her out of her contract.
That's man, that's so screwy.
It is. It's so depressing.
And what makes this even weirder is one of the things I was listening to, or not, I'm sorry, not listening, reading, is the judge in the trial is married to a lawyer whose firm represents like some subsidiary of Sony, which is kind of like, how is that allowed to happen? It's just very, very strange.
God bless America.
Because like then makes you wonder, like, okay, did this judge dismiss the charges because of legitimate legal reasons, or is she somehow connected to, you know, kind of being put pressure on? Like, well, my husband represents these people, so I can't. Like that's it's so wacky. Like I don't know. I honestly don't know what to believe. Like I want to. Like, one of my biggest pet peeves, I want to side with Kesha just because I could see, I don't know Dr. Luke from anyone, but I could see the world of music being creepy like that. But, man, oh man, it's just, so many things went wrong in that trial on both sides that it's kind of like, blah, I don't know what to think.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like if you Google his picture, he sort of looks like a creep.
Everyone in the music industry looks like a creep. Let's just be honest with ourselves with that one.
I mean, that's fair. I think,
or at least on the producing side. At least on the producing side.
There's definitely a lot of, you know, people in power at a lot of these entertainment companies that take advantage of their stars and of their, you know, position. You know, if you write the checks, you get away with a lot of things, you know, going back to like the casting couch of yore. So,
And what's really maddening is when you have these people who are become big stars and are like, I'm going to help the little guy out, and then turn out to be just as evil. Case in point, Taylor Swift.
On a side note, on the Wikipedia page for Kesha, I see that in 2014 she checked into a rehab facility.
Yes, in Lamont, Illinois. She was so close to me.
Were you there? Were you like stalking the place?
No, but I could feel her presence for the 2 months she was there.
One moment, I'm going to break away for a moment.
You know, he brought up that topic, right?
Right. It's like,
did you hear about this? By the way, I have to go now.
We're going to have a podcasting meeting called "Why Do You Keep Leaving in the Middle of Podcasting? I Don't Get It. Where are you going?"
All right, back for a fun fact. I have permission to disclose. The Graveyard Queen was actually offered a job at Timberline Knolls, where Kesha checked herself into. So,
phenomenal.
Fun fact.
Phenomenal. And she didn't go for it. That's okay, but think about how different her life would be if she was best friends with Kesha.
Oh, and I think Rihanna went there too, but I don't care much for her. I'm sure she's a great person, but I don't know what she does to make money.
She makes songs.
Okay.
She's put out like more than an album a year.
You
in
say
the
so?
9 years she's. I mean, it's not if I say so. That's just facts.
All right,
That's just a fact.
All right. I'm sure I'll hear it on the radio someday or another. So what is in the future for Kesha?
Well, she's going to be in Aurora in August.
Okay.
Aurora, Illinois, not far from where we all live.
Yeah.
And I will be seeing her. It looks like she's going to continue to tour. She's worked with some other artists in various capacities. I want good things to happen for her. She not only put out 2 very good albums, she also has written a bunch of pop songs, which we didn't really get into, but she's written a bunch of songs, including, I think the most famous one is probably Britney Spears' When the World Ends. She was the one who wrote that, and that was huge in 2009, I believe. So, I would like to see her, be in a position. I mean, ideally, her legal troubles go away and she can, put out some music. But if she never really gets to put out her music, or if she never really gets to put out her music in any sort of really popular way, I really hope she gets to at least get back into writing some songs, because I think she's got a pretty good sense of what people enjoy hearing, and I think she could make some good money doing that. So those are my wishes for Kesha.
Amen.
All right, is that do we have any Gorehound? Do you have any final thoughts on Kesha?
No, it was fun to listen to her entire discography for about the past week straight.
And your place of work has lost all respect for you.
No, nobody at work knows what I was listening to. But it was a good experience, and I'm definitely going to take a break because 2 weeks of Kesha was kind of overload. But I feel I know all of her songs now.
Alrighty. I have no final thoughts.
Perfect.
Jen, did you have any final thoughts, or did you think you've mentioned everything you can about Kesha?
So I will mention that as we have talked about on this podcast, I was recently engaged. And I think it is important to note that as part of the engagement, Thor played a Kesha song. And he did, and it was Your Love Is My Drug, which is very romantic.
Sounds about right. You should invite her to your wedding.
You know what? I actually was reading her Wikipedia page today, and she has performed a bunch of weddings.
And hey, it wouldn't hurt to invite her either.
Right. No, if Kesha performed my marriage, I would lose my...
she is an ordained minister.
Yeah, exactly.
Very difficult either, so...
No, you can become an ordained minister in 20 seconds online.
Although what I learned when the Kiwi and I were getting married, we looked into that just for kicks. You can be an ordained minister. If you do it online, doesn't actually mean you have the right to marry people, because apparently there's some not catch, but there's some legal issue that a good vast majority, though, if you get your ordained ministerness, the ability to perform weddings, doesn't actually make you legally able to do it.
I feel like there was a plot line that went around a lot in the 60s and 70s, where a couple would discover that the person that married them wasn't legally authorized to marry them, and then they'd have to get remarried, even though they'd been married for 30 years and had 3 kids or whatever.
That
happened a lot.
That was the plot to my Big Fat Greek Wedding too.
Was it really?
That's how they had the wedding, and the parents realized they weren't actually married for all those years because they either the priest forgot to sign it or whatever, and the priest had long died, and the new priest wouldn't sign off on it, so they had to go through a whole wedding ceremony.
I always have a lot of logistical questions about that kind of thing. Who's ever going to check?
But alrighty. I don't have trivia, but I knew I wasn't going to have trivia because I don't know a lot about Kesha that Jen didn't already know. But I have a fun story. But I'm going to need help with this story to make sure I tell it right. So hang on just a second. The Kiwi. I'm trying to add her to this phone call. Add people to this call. Kiwi?
Yeah.
All right.
Hey!
Hey.
I'm going to
Welcome
close
to the podcast.
All right. So we have. You can hear us, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we have Kiwi on the show now, and so Kiwi, we've been talking about Kesha for the past 45 minutes to an hour, but I didn't have any trivia, so instead I was going to tell a story, and I need you here to make sure I tell it right.
Okay.
Okay. So, as you know, the Kiwi and I are married, and in January, it's looking like we're going to have a new addition to our family.
What?
Dead silence.
Oh my god.
Really?
We're getting another cat.
Oh my gosh.
No,
Wait, really?
no. Kiwi, you shush, Max. Kiwi, you tell
Yes.
us. They're not going to believe me.
It's true. January 8th.
January 8th?
Yeah, I'm hoping for December baby just because I think it'd be really hilarious because everyone in my family is born in December, but you know.
Oh my god, we'll do what we can.
That's incredible.
Oh my
Thank you.
God. That's so cool. I thought this story was going to be about Kesha, but this is good too.
You told me I don't tell good stories or sweet stories, so this is me making up for it.
Oh, that's a great story.
Oh.
Hey, Thor, are you still wandering around?
I'm gonna put
Oh, maybe he went to bed.
the queen on, okay?
Okay. Hey.
Hi, guys.
Welcome
I'm
to
pregnant.
the podcast.
I don't need to keep it a secret anymore.
No,
No.
You don't.
All right. I did pretty good. I didn't say anything.
Congrats.
Yes, thank you. If anyone needs congratulations, obviously it's me.
And I just want to say the people who say that they enjoy pregnancy, I want to know who they are and when this takes effect because I've been very miserable.
Oh my god, so you're not going to be able to drink at your party.
I am not.
What
I didn't drink at yours either.
Oh my god, I should have tracked you better.
It was great. No one asked me what I was drinking. I went over and I poured myself some ginger ale and nobody questioned it.
Well, as I said before, you guys are going to be great parents.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You guys
we're
deserve
excited.
it. We're so happy for you.
It's so exciting. Were you going to announce this on at your party, or is this is just our special preview?
This is the special
This
preview.
is a special preview.
I
So
love it.
Act
Yeah, we're
mildly
still not-
surprised when we mention it at the party.
Can I just be like, no, I watched you at my party. You didn't drink at my party. I knew the whole time. Even though you know I didn't know.
no, I was really paranoid someone was going to call me out on not drinking, but nobody cared about me. So
I don't care.
no, it's been a rough pregnancy so far. I'm not going to lie. So
How far along are you now?
about 10 and a half weeks.
Okay, so that still means the first trimester, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and we saw the baby on Saturday. We had our first ultrasounds, and we saw the baby's heartbeat,
Mhm.
and the
Are
baby,
you gonna find out the sex?
Yeah, but at 20 weeks.
Okay. That's exciting. I am really excited to come celebrate officially with you guys Saturday.
So when I said, why are you having a party? And you said, oh, no reason. It was actually to announce this.
Yeah.
Yes and no. I mean, I think we would want to do something to begin with, but
Well, yeah.
this was definitely a motivating factor.
Oh my gosh, that's really cute.
Very
So
cute.
you're our circle of friends that know at the moment.
Aw. Well, we are honored.
Yes, of course.
Well, let's close this out before we get too late.
Well, I look forward to pretending to be surprised on Saturday.
Yeah, well,
Saturday.
me and Jen and Kyle are all going to be practicing our surprise faces.
faces.
All right, I'm going to give you back to Kyle.
That's
Love
not
you
my name.
guys.
That's not my name.
Or whatever it is he goes by.
What?
All right, I'm back.
The traditional whatever it is he goes by, as we call him.
Congratulations.
Thank
yeah,
you.
it's very
Fantastic.
exciting.
Ew.
Thank you. So
Oh, and Jen's gonna babysit, right?
I think that's a yes.
That
She
is a
seemed
yes.
really excited with that. So we'll also put her on. Jen, you'll
top
be
of the list.
the top of
Top of the list.
If anything ever happens to me and the Kiwi, you'll be the one to take care of the kid.
Oh, absolutely. You just fill out that paperwork.
Alrighty. So yeah, that was in lieu of trivia. There was another kind of
that'll
trivia.
That'll suffice. That'll suffice.
So, alrighty. I guess that's going to do it for us then. Yeah. Until next week. I'm Nick.
I'm the Gorehound.
And I'm Jen.
And I'm the Kiwi.
Have a good night, everyone. You've been listening to the all-new Culture Cast, one of Chicagoland's finest podcasts.
You're making me fall asleep to death.
Well, I guess there's not much we can do about that. In the meantime, check out our blog at znculturecast.wordpress.com. Send us an email at nick.culturecast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your feedback, comments, and requests. Follow us on social media. Theme music by bensound.com. This has been a Saltwater production, copyright 2017. Thanks for listening.
I've been a Katy Perry fan ever since she came on the scene.
So Gorehound, have you listened to her new album?
Yes, I hated it.